Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rise Factor Conversations for Growth. Today, full disclaimer and disclosure, this is mostly going to be for our lovely Victorian agents community. However, going to be applicable to everyone in our property management community because the conversations are for you all. So joining me today, I have the lovely and amazing Peter and Martina from Properteasy joining me. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
It's been incredible to watch so far how you have made your mark in the industry and really, getting yourself out there and connecting. And I think I was really curious as to what you guys are doing and really excited to have you as a sponsor for our PM Summit event. So before we get into the Properteasy side, I always like to start off with more of the personal human connection side. For those that do not know you individually, please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourselves.
Cool. Thanks. I'll go first. So my name is Peter and I'm the director at Properteasy, and my background is actually very far from software engineering or building products. My background is in football or soccer, how you call it. So
Yes, soccer.
I was a soccer player for 8 years. That was my first job. So when I finished school, I signed my first contract. So for 8 years, I was only playing football, kicking the ball and training and resting and sleeping. So it's a very interesting lifestyle as a football player. And I really enjoyed it. And I wasn't playing for top teams, so I knew I can't retire on this income. And so when I was 24, I started thinking 24 in football age, you quite old. So big clubs looking at much younger players. So I tried to think what's next for me. And the other thing, I was also playing for a club. The owner stopped paying us for a year and a half. He did not pay us a cent. So luckily I was living with my parents, and my lovely girlfriend at that time supported me too.
Supporting him.
And so I didn't really mind it. And over time, looking back at it, it was the best thing that ever happened to my life. So after a year and a half of not getting paid, I sent him to a football court. And I won all the bonuses, all the base salary. So it was a big chunk of money that made us think, okay, what to do next? And our main goal was to learn English. So we decided to pack the bags and learn the hard way, not to go to England. That's just 1 hour flight from Czech Republic. So we said, let's explore somewhere else. So we decided to go to the other side of the world, buy one-way ticket flights to Melbourne. And that's how we ended up in Melbourne. And that's when the journey for us started. So we came mid-20s, and it was very baby steps to start with, easy jobs. Not easy jobs, I mean hard jobs, but not the best jobs. Like
Easy on language.
Yeah.
Not too much.
Babysitters. You did babysitting, cleaning. I was working as a kitchen hand. So we went through a tough patch at the start, but the main thing was the language barrier. We knew we can't get a decent job without the language. So also with the job, we went to schools as well. And we were on a student visa. We could only work 20 hours a week. So it was quite hard times. We really had to count every dollar. And but we went through it, and looking back, definitely it make us better people and just more resilient to anything. And as I said, my bad boss, the one that didn't pay me for a year and a half, that was the best saving for me. And looking back at it again, so it was the best thing that happened. It changed my life. Even that time, yes, I must have been complaining, but looking back, it was a good thing to do. Then we landed here. I'll give Martina a chance as well to continue with that story. So yeah, we landed in Melbourne.
Yes,
some of the jobs, your highlights of the jobs.
I don't want to think about the jobs anymore. They were hard and physical work. But I think important is to say that we really had no clue what we're going to do here. We had visa for 3 months, and we had $200 in our pocket after we've paid Peter's school and all the visa and air tickets and all that. So we really started very light, and we had to jump into it right away. No questions, just do whatever came along. And then from that, Peter was slowly learning about multimedia and computers at school. I was supporting him for another 4 years with my hard labor. And after he has graduated from his studies, I went to study my business course as well, which was great because essentially I started to feel like I'm having something to go for and look forward to, and I've really enjoyed that time of studying as well. And from there, we both were lucky to get full-time jobs. And, once you get full-time jobs, it's a little bit easier and you start thinking about family and all that. So we had 2 kids shortly after. One of them was planned, the other one wasn't, but it's all good now. And 20 years later, we're still here and we're trying to make a difference for other people in their lives and their jobs.
Yeah. So as Martina was saying, after the easy jobs or the hard jobs, the sweaty jobs, we got some office jobs I got a job in a marketing agency. So I was always, when I was playing football, I was always, computers was my second hobby. So I was always interested how web is connected together, how internet works. And so I was mostly self-taught, but in Australia, I had to study something. So I decided to follow the multimedia and learn quite a lot about different things. But the web was always something that I was passionate about. And I learned myself quite a lot of it. And then I got a part-time job, full-time job in a bigger agency, built bigger projects for bigger brands like Bunnings, Honda, Coles, and so on. And after that, I always had this need, this itch of, I think I can build something for someone and have my own product. So that was always in my back of my mind, even though I was working for big agencies, quite comfortable contracts. I always was tinkering on the side with some side projects of doing things for me, or later on that led to Properteasy, building something for Martina because of her issues at work. So that was my journey, how I got to the digital. So I was still sort of playing football as well, but of course not at professional level, just some pocket money on the side. But yeah, I like the contrast between digital work, shutting the computer and going on the pitch, now coaching the players as well. So I need the balance. Only 1 year I didn't play, didn't coach, and I was very grumpy. Martina didn't really like it. So
indeed, yeah. I said to him, Peter, I love you, but I need you out of the house.
Yeah. So she likes the 3 nights away when I'm at training, and I need just it's completely different thinking, and it just recharges me for the next day of the work. And again, when I'm at football, I don't really think about the work trouble. So I think everyone needs that balance, and I feel sorry for people that they don't, because they might be just working, and that's I feel that's the quickest way to burn out. So I'm lucky to have a passion that some people just don't understand. Why am I still involved in football? But yeah, for me, it's very, very important.
Yes.
And so going back to how we sort of started with Properteasy, Martina, of course, works as a senior property manager at Gary Peer, and one of the compliances or one of the issues they had to sort of deal with, or regulations that came in, she had to deal with, was compliance. And I think every agency tried to manage it some way, and some of them use the CRM, some of them spin up a spreadsheet on the side. And then because it's a bigger agency, they use multiple suppliers. So she ended up logging to multiple services to get the certificates, get the dates. So the workflow was very fragmented, and I had no clue about it. But every time she came back from work, she wasn't too excited about, I can't say the word that Martina told me after the last interview, not to say a specific word. So I'm not going to say it, but she wasn't excited about the flow.
I wasn't happy.
She wasn't happy about it. And I was thinking, what could be done, or what the program should do for you to have a clear view and clarity of what needs to happen. So that's where it started. It was just me starting on the side while I was still contracting at Coast. And then we over time refined it, showed it to the agency itself. So when they had a compliance meetings, they looked at spreadsheets, but Martina said, don't look at spreadsheet for my properties. My portfolio is here. And she showed them the much more visual view from Properteasy. And they were like, what is this? What is it? Why can't I use this? Why do I have to have spreadsheet? So more people jumped on board, gave us feedback of what needs to be in, what should be in. And that's how it evolved. So it's in the making for about a year and a half. We have now multiple thousands of properties with multiple agencies using it. And that's why getting on board more of podcasts and just trying to spread the word, because as you know, having a product is one thing, but spreading the word is another thing. So
For sure.
Martina maybe can touch on hairs, on the flow itself and why we needed to have some sort of product or some different solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just think it's great to have something that makes you feel like you've got things under control. And to me, it only makes sense when you look at your main program, like we're using PropertyMe. That gives you overview of what you need to do for your daily job. Then we've got Inspection Express that we use for all the routine inspections, exit reports, entry, plus the paperwork behind the scene, leases and all that. And then we've got RIE.
IRE.
All right. I never know the way the letters.
Yeah.
But yeah, that program that we use for tracking people who come for inspections and leads and all that. So to me, that was one part of the job where I felt like I don't have clarity. I don't have anywhere to tap into and have a look. What do I need to do today with my compliant? Who is due? Who I need to look after? And what's outstanding on each property? So to me, that just makes sense to have some sort of database that will help me to keep track of all these things. And Peter was very patient to listen to me explaining to him what I want. Sometimes because Peter's very technical and I'm very, out there in the cloud, sort of knowing how I wanted to look and feel, but not really technically how it should work. So he was very patient, listening to me and trying to sort of tailor it what I needed at the time. And later, when we started to put more people on Properteasy and they started to play with it, play around, they had some really good feedback, valuable feedback as to how things can work even better, because, the way I work might necessarily be the best or the fastest way. And so it was great to have the insight from the others, and it's evolving every day and improving every day.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we all up for small incremental changes and improvements of the workflow instead of building something that is just revolutionizing the whole thing. So we taking PropertyMe reminders and elevating them. I'm always calling it's reminders on steroids to make it much better, much bigger, much more detailed tracking of all the reports, all the dates, and also the follow-up work, because yes, the report can come and it could be all good. So that's the easy bit. But when something out of that report needs to be done as a follow-up work, then that gets lost in other tasks and so on. So we wanted to have one view where the whole compliance is tracked, whether that compliance is okay or whether some further works needs to be done. We didn't want to make it any more complicated. So recently we also integrated with PropertyMe, which enabled us to, sync all the new properties, archive properties, and have one list of both of them in sync every day. And we also creating jobs directly from our system into PropertyMe. So you always have record of it in PropertyMe. All the details of the landlord tenants are attached to the email send out. So it's a very seamless workflow for the property managers, and there is no double up of doing things twice in both systems. Yeah.
I think that's so important. There's so many, and this is what I love about what you have created is because I find that there's so many different platforms, right? There's so many different pieces that property managers need to use. And one of the feedback that I see a lot is like they wish they just had one place for everything, because like let's just look at BDMs. BDMs have their CRM system. That's it. Everything is on their CRM system in terms of their follow-ups, people they need to contact. Same thing with property managers. They've got so much like rent arrears, property maintenance, and now for Vic, compliance. And it's a really serious conversation that we need to have, right? Because compliance in Victoria is huge. Like, let's not forget about the fines that landlords can face, and as well as agencies if their properties aren't up to date with compliance. So having a platform where it's all in the one place, you don't have to look at the individual providers on where the different compliance are. I think it's about making people's lives and jobs easier. So I love that you've integrated that. So I will include the details for if people would like to book in a demo on this podcast. But I want to go back to a few things that you said earlier, Peter and Martina, because with resilience, which is one of the things that you guys said earlier, and looking at property managers, we can take things to heart. And generally that's because we care so much and we are passionate. So what do you think is something that property managers or business development managers or team leaders can do to help with their resilience when it comes to the property management role? I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
I think resilience is something that you have to go through hard time to actually become resilient. And of course, it's not comfortable. Nobody likes it. You know, I don't like to be stressed out and under pump and not knowing what's going to be next day, which was pretty much what we were feeling when we came here. And so at that point of time, when you're actually going through the hard time, you don't realize it. You don't realize how gold that time is for you, because from there, you're going to just become stronger and stronger as a person in what you're doing. You have to go through failures and mistakes in order to get better. So I feel that, you know, for all the PMs out there and people in the business, don't be scared of failure. Don't be scared of, you know, be embarrassed or going through something that is very uncomfortable for you, because just with that, you have to, you will realize that with every opportunity to be in this situation, next time it's going to get easier and easier and easier. And especially for the younger generations, I think, I don't want to put anybody in the boxes, but I think that sometimes people feel that there's a lot of entitlement and a lot of, you know, why is this so hard? It should be easier and I should have this help and that help. Just, you know, get organized. Once you're organized, you can build on that and you can really achieve good things by yourself. You most of the time, you don't need to be relying on somebody else's help. If you can do this job on your own, it's because you are organized and you understand what you're doing.
For sure. I love that, Martina. And I think it, you know, a couple of things is I think it starts with awareness as well. It's you at the time didn't know why you had to experience what you did when you came to Melbourne. But now I'm sure that you realize now that through that experience and going through that has led you to your path today. So I have this belief that even though right now you might not realize the lesson from that challenge or the gratitude that you can actually feel from that experience, it will be there. We just have to have that awareness of, okay, why am I experiencing this right now? What's it trying to tell me? What can I learn from this? And if everything was easy in life, I feel like life would be pretty boring, right? Like
it would definitely. And Pete, I have to say, sometimes Peter's always, you know, sort of pushing me. He keeps pushing me. And I might hate it at that time. I might be swearing at him and just, you know, leave me alone, leave me in my comfy corner. But it's true. If you don't get that push, you just sort of stop and just sit and wait what's going to come to you. But if you do keep pushing, and if you have somebody by your side who might annoy you a little bit, but then you know it's for the good reason, I think it's great, because it's a great help. And because of what Peter has been doing, you know, the whole time, he pretty much dragged me on the plane. It wasn't that I wanted to come along. So excited. I was literally tagging along at the time, but now I can see how I've changed over the years because of that, and how I'm more sort of more focused on what I want to do for myself in the future as well, not just what the others expecting of me, but what is good for me and what I want.
Absolutely. And that leads me to the other one, because Peter, you said about balance, and you also spoke about, you know, having soccer is what you're passionate about, and that would be a hobby, and, you know, essentially feeling sorry for people who perhaps don't have that outlet. And I'm a massive believer that, you know, life is just life. I don't look at, you know, my personal life and my professional life separate. It's all integrated and intertwined together like a big spider web, you know, is how I look at it. So and I know that this happens in property management and real estate, is people just make their work or their role or their career or their job, however they look at it, their entire world, right? So what would be your advice, Peter, for those going, okay, well, I don't have hobbies or I don't do anything outside of work. How can they be curious about some other things that they perhaps would like to do and haven't experienced that yet?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. As I said, I feel lucky to have something like that, like football for me or soccer for me. And I've got other. Before football, it was also photography. I definitely would like to grab a camera and just go for travel and take photography. So it could be anything small or big. Some people like cooking. As I said, it doesn't have to be thing that takes every night, but even if it's a weekly activity that you do with your kids, maybe it's a hiking, maybe it's I don't know, maybe you are more into the arts, so you go to the museums around the city, and so it could be different things, books, reading. Maybe that's fading off a little bit. Maybe more people these days are into podcasts and audio books, but it could be in different shapes. Of course, physical activity is good, because if you don't move and property managers, apart from, there's probably a lot of driving these days, so there's not much physical activity, but still there is some activity of walking. But I feel like what I needed is the balance between mental activity and just focusing on code and developing and staring at a screen, and going out and being just outside. So as I said, that's for me, it's football, but any physical activity is great. And just going back to that, recently I used to always go to gym before work. That was my sort of preference instead of after work. And recently our son turned 14, 15, and I needed as a parent to show him some routine in the gym. So we started going to gym as well in the morning.
Awesome.
And so I feel like, yeah, if it can't be after work, then we just wake up early in the morning and do it before work. For us, it's 45 minutes in the gym every day, and just has a great. It's also good bonding with whoever you're doing it. For me, it's with my son, but if you have a buddy or friend or best friend, you can also spend that 45 minutes with your friend every day, and chit chat or talk about the goss in the office or whatever your other work related stuff you want to get out. And I just feel like, yeah, everyone needs it and everyone has it. They just need to keep an eye on it, and when they discovered something, just do it more often, and yeah, the work will then you'll feel more refreshed going to work than just thinking about work 24 hours. That's as I said, that's the quickest way for burnout.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, yeah, you said a lot of it is we're sitting down, we're sitting at our desk, we're sitting in the car, or it's like short little sprints of standing up, like move the body. And I think that's so important as humans, that we need to move, like it's so good for us to be able to do that. So great tips. So yeah, lastly, I want to ask you, let's talk about the future of property management, okay? Because right now you guys literally are helping. We've got new legislation changes coming in again in Victoria. So where do you see the property management role evolving in, let's just say, a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever you guys think? I would love to know, where you think the evolution of property management's going.
We were just talking about it the other day in the office, in that sort of scary way, how the robots will replace us and AI, and we're just all going to lose the job and won't have anything to do and live in the outskirts on the side of the city in the woods. Hopefully that's not going to happen. Definitely we are heading to a massive change, especially with the AI and with the help that the softwares these days can do for us, because it's no longer a paper and ticking the boxes, going through routine inspections. Everything is sort of automated for us. But I think the main thing that what cannot be taken from a human and person who is in the job is that connection, that the human connection with the clients. The understanding, empathy, having just the casual chat with the owners, because they all love that. And just have that, the human factor there. So when it comes to, property manager itself, I think it will be much more fragmented. It's not going to be one person doing it all. I think in the future it will be more task-based rather than one person running a portfolio. It probably will be vary from agency to agency as well, because if you've got a small agency, you'll probably be still running on that, one person doing all model. But I think people should think about all this innovation in a good way. It can help you. It can save you a time. And it can then allow you more time to really focus on those relationships, because that's the main thing. I was listening to podcasts of Kylie Walker, and there was one thing that they were talking about, which was she was at the time worried about her portfolio being stolen away from her by an employee. And I realized that we all are trying to focus on building a relationship, property manager, with the client. I think what a lot of businesses need to realize, that their relationship needs to be built from the top. The business managers, the business owners, they have to have relationship with the client. And once you've established that, then you don't have to be worried about somebody else coming and stealing your business. Of course, the property manager is an integral part of it, but that's where it starts, and that's where it needs to be built from. That's my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of work still to be done, because if I look at, I'm a landlord myself, and even though, yes, we can automate things, and yes, we can have innovation, and I know so many businesses do have that, there still is a time where I would have loved to hear from my property manager in helping me create wealth, having different conversations rather than, hey, your tenant's just reported maintenance. So I think that needs to change. And, I definitely am passionate about being part of that change going forward, as well as many other trainers. So I think there's still a lot of work to do, but the change is to start with all of us individually, I believe, to be able to invest in ourselves, look at our development. How can we develop ourselves, as better humans, to then have better relationships with ourselves, to then look at what our landlords actually want from us. And it's not just the fluffy phone calls like, hey, how's your daughter? Yes, that's great. We want to have that personal side, but it's like, hey, we're going to be looking at your portfolio entirely, and let's see, how can we make you more money? How can we save you more money? Like, for me, that would have been gold if I had have received that, every year from my property manager. So I think that's what I would love to see going forward. And Peter, what's the future for Properteasy? What can we expect from Properteasy?
I don't want to talk Properteasy specific, but in terms of the change as well, the technology, the AI, and how it affects the property managers and the businesses, I think definitely it will replace the small tasks. So the admin tasks will be automated, and it is already automated these days. And a lot of agencies have VAs, so you're sort of automating it for yourself. You're just delegating it to someone to do. So a lot of agencies already doing it in terms of VAs and assistants, and so that will not change. But the VAs have now the opportunity to incorporate AI in their work, so they can then manage more. So I feel like the portfolio sizes could be bigger in a couple of years, because property managers will be able to delegate more to smarter VAs or AI agents. So that's probably the future, but it will never replace the phone call. The landlords need to talk to the real people, and I'm sure tenants are the same. They don't want to talk to automated responders and so on. They want to feel that there is a human between them and the property. So I feel that the jobs will definitely change for them, but it will not replace them. And one book, if I can leave with the readers, is Who Moved My Cheese, which is a very, very short read. So don't think you need to read a long book, but it's very short read, but small chapters about embracing change and just looking for it instead of denying it and be stuck into your own world and doing it the old way. There's always better ways, and we can't stop it. Like, we couldn't stop mobile phones coming in, we couldn't stop internet being here, we couldn't stop computers being widely used. So this is just another change, and the people who embrace it jump on I don't want to say AI train, but technology change. You can definitely speed up your workflow, do more with less stress, and the people that will deny it will just be more stressed by all of it.
For sure.
And
I really agree.
Sorry, Sarah. If I can just add to what Peter's saying, more from I think for a lot of people who are working in property management or any other industry or career, I think if you really, really feel that this is your place, you will always strive to learn more and to do more. And eventually having those conversations, like you saying, that high level conversation. Okay, how can I help you here? What can we do next? Do you want to buy more properties? Do you want to invest more? Be more on that higher level of advisor rather than just property manager who is flicking those tasks and getting people in and out of the properties. But also, just don't do things to do them just because they're your job. Take them as your career. Once you think about that as a career, that's where the magic is going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's also a reminder that we're dealing with people's homes. And I think that gets lost sometimes in property management because we know that it's about people and we know that it's about property, but we're also dealing with people's homes, and that's not something to take lightly. So I think if we look at, we need to embrace the change. Yes, AI is amazing. It helps our jobs. It makes our life easier. Why is that important to a landlord? Why is that important to a tenant? And I think that's the piece that's still missing. So great, you've got a VA, great, you've got some amazing tech, but why does a landlord give a shit about that? Why would a tenant give a shit about that? It means that you can care for them more. It means that you can create a more beautiful space to welcome them to their new home. And that's what I would love to see. And bridging that gap between a landlord and a tenant, because boy, oh boy, do we have some work to do there. Like we have some work to do there. It's like a war between landlords and tenants, and we just get, met in the crossfire. It's like, let's bridge that gap. Let's bring landlords and tenants together. I would love to see more of that happen in our industry. I don't know how that looks just yet. I'm working on, some ideas for this for my clients, but I would have loved to meet my tenants and had a chat to them. And I don't know, I know everyone doesn't have that time, or perhaps organizing a Zoom, 5-minute Zoom. Here's your tenants, meet your tenants. So many ideas there, But
I'm going to meet mine in half an hour. So.
There you go. That's amazing. Yeah. I love that.
I've been managing our own investor with Gary Peer, but I'm the property manager, and I was trying to hide it for a little bit that I am not the owner, but then the mail came through to the wrong address and it was all revealed. So, but it's nice. It's nice to know who are the people that live there, and you get a little bit more interest in them and they get interest in you. So it's definitely something that we should be embracing and not take it as, annoying tenant calling me because something broke, wanting to know more and how can I help you here? Because without tenants, we don't have a job.
That's right. And instead of getting a call saying, hey, your tenants have reported this maintenance, Peter and Martina called and they've reported this at the property. They're actually humans. They're not just, let's remove the labels and just go back to that human side. Guys, I think it shows from this podcast that how passionate you both really are. And I want to wholeheartedly thank you for sharing your journey through, the tough times and your resilience, because I'm sure many people are really grateful that you endured those times to help you get to where you are. I'm really excited to see the future for both of you and for Properteasy, and look forward to actually seeing you in person in a few months. And like I said, we'll pop your details below and for anyone who would like to get in contact with you. But thank you so much for joining the Rise Factor today.
Thanks, Sarah. It's been great.
Thank you for having us. It was a lovely chat. Thanks.
Thank you. And as always, everyone, keep rising.